Hello, good morning everybody. My name is Petros Iosifidis. I am a professor in sociology and media policy at City St George's, University of London. Thank you very much for inviting me to this conference, this very important forum today, and especially thanks to Dr. Swan Adam Ivas for organizing this key conference and for indeed having me here to present. I am sorry I cannot be with you today, but I will try to give you a short presentation on the global perspectives of on digital media policy and structural media reform. These global perspectives that I'm going to sketch in a minute are very much related to this particular forum in post-conflict regions. And as you mentioned very elegantly in your program, so I'll read this from inside. This summit bridges the gap between transnational policy, bringing together academics, would-be real media engineering, regional policy makers, and international experts. So just allow me a few minutes to sketch out the global digital media policy for these days, the contemporary one. This is defined, in my view, by a major shift toward platform accountability, algorithmic oversight, and the integration of artificial intelligence, which is, of course, the new trend that is being happening today. Structural reform at the same time. Very much these movements very much deal with concentrated media ownership, pursuing policies to protect political pluralism and cultural diversity, and of course public interest journalism. The issue of media concentration has been with us for many decades. So in the past, it was concerning the linear media, conventional, traditional media, broadcasting, newspapers, radio, and so on, that were coming together and merging with each other, forming corporate alliances. So you needed some sort of regulation there to prevent undue concentration of media ownership. But this has been transferred today to digital media platforms. So instead of dealing with conventional media, we are still dealing with that, but it is mostly the huge, the very powerful digital media platforms such as Meta, Facebook, X, formerly Twitter, Instagram, and Amazon, Apple, and many others that they form an oligopoly in the global market. So you need some structural reform movements there to deal with the concentrated ownership of these digital platforms. For me, the key policy drivers are platform regulation and gatekeeper algorithms. And just to be clear, some years ago, probably a decade ago, nobody would be thinking, it was unthinkable for regulating digital media platforms. But today, many governments, both in the global north and global south, have initiated policies to regulate them, especially to protect users, youngsters from harmful content, including explicit sexual material that you can find on the internet. But any other user, especially on the issue of misinformation and disinformation, this is something that need protection because I personally I think that it is a principle, a main human right for us all citizens to receive reliable, accurate information in order to make informed decisions about politics, economics, climate change, and so on. So if disinformation, misinformation, fake news prevent on the digital public sphere, that would be a major problem for all of us, for all society. And just to say here as a last thing that public service media, public service broadcasters should be a guarantor there to prevent misinformation, disinformation, and the spread of fake news, especially through social media. Why? Because these public service media have been there for a long time, have been regulated vigorously, so we need to maintain them in order to guarantee public interest journalism, investigative journalism. Don't make me wrong, citizen journalism also very important. You know, everybody can be a citizen journalist these days. You get a camera, you go out there, perhaps during a protest, you get important information firsthand of what is happening. You post these video images on the website, but at the same time, you know, the traditional journalism, journalists who check their sources, double check their sources, is also equally important and still very relevant today to guarantee public interest journalism. So that's just to say a very short sketch of the global perspectives on digital media policy today, as well as structural media reform. And just allow me, before I finish, to say that the Journal of Digital Media and Policy, in which I serve as a principal editor, will be having a special issue on papers to be submitted in this conference. So these papers will have to be, of course, peer-reviewed vigorously and in order to be considered for publication to the journal. An open call will probably go out in mid-September in order to select the best, the most quality papers to be considered for publication. We are very much interested in a global perspective. Yes, you can still focus on specific countries, but at the same time, we need you to perhaps compare this country with others, so to have a more global perspective, more global angle for these papers to be considered for publication. And as I said, these will be subject to peer review, blind peer review, which is the norm for this particular journal, the Journal of Digital Media and Policy. Thanks again for having me here, distinguished people in the roundtable and distinguished guests. Again, I apologize for not being with you today. but I hope, I trust that you will be having a very good and productive conference. Good day to you.